I wanted to talk about some of the new features I noticed while playing the Call of Duty World War II beta early. Now, if you weren't aware, Activision flew me out to Sledgehammer Games and put me in a hotel to capture some gameplay for my channel. If you're a subscriber of my channel, you'll know I like to pay close attention to detail. As such, I've compiled a list of new features I noticed, or things that I wasn't personally aware of from my beta experience. So first up, let's talk about time to kill. One of the biggest complaints I see is that people appear to be dying extremely fast. Let me assure you though, this is not what I experienced. In fact, I survived more gunfights in my 3 hours of playing this game than I did all of Infinite Warfare. Now if we examine this particular clip here, you can see that in my first encounter I take severe damage while manning the MG42 nest. After recovering in full, I step outside the nest and take more damage. Now by the time I reach this ladder, I've fully healed up once again, only to take severe damage for a third and final time. So that's 3 encounters in a single life where I came to the brink of death only to survive. Now I've seen some outrageous claims that a majority of guns have a 2-shot kill potential at absurd ranges, and that you'll melt instantly. If that's true, how did I manage to survive 3 times in this single clip? Basically, I wouldn't worry too much about the time to kill. It felt absolutely perfect. Next up is actually a big one. I'm not sure if this is even known around the community or not yet. So while playing the beta, I noticed that there's a basic training skill that's identical to FTL's perception trait in Infinite Warfare. Now I'm sure a lot of you probably didn't play Infinite Warfare, so let me tell you what perception did. In that game, if someone was looking at you while you weren't looking at them, your screen would flash yellow. This would indicate that someone was staring you down and about to cold cock you into oblivion. Essentially, this gives you 360 degrees of vision. So watch here in this first clip. I was testing a few things with the Bouncing Betty, and I didn't realize that any enemies were about. All of a sudden, my screen started to glow yellow, but I ignored it. But then it happened again and I got shot in the back. At the time, I had no idea what this was. So after the match was completed, I checked the loadout I was using, and lo and behold, it's a basic training skill called Basic Instincts. I don't know what the exact description of this training skill says, but obviously one aspect is to light up your screen yellow when an enemy is looking in your direction. You can see it in this clip as well as I'm crossing this bridge. My screen pulses a yellow color right before I'm gunned down from my left. Now this last clip was too embarrassing to pass up on, so I'll just include it here as well. I had just placed a Bouncing Betty down and I took some damage, so I went prone to recover. And while prone, my screen flashes yellow, so I know someone's about to flank me. However, my sensitivity was at 2 and I did the Grandpa 360 to try and turn around. Before I could turn all the way around though, the enemy detonated my Bouncing Betty and we both explode into a shower of flesh and gore. Now speaking of gore, I did an elaborate video detailing all the gore I could find from my playthrough at E3. Which I'll link in the description. From the looks of things, everything remains the same, with the exception of one thing: the launchers. At E3, I direct impacted a few people, but at worst, all that happened was the loss of their leg. Now I was fortunate enough to get a close quarters direct hit at the capture event, and boy did it not disappoint. Not only this, but it was on none other than Charlie Intel himself, the guy that brings all the Call of Duty news to social media. So I had just taken out Phase Agony from medium range with my bazooka. As I turned to retreat down the stairs, I run headfirst into Charlie Intel coming up the stairs. And within a moment's notice, I let loose the rocket directly in his face. Not only did his entire body explode, but his blood and guts covered the entire staircase. And I think if we look closely at a few frames prior to this, you can actually see that only a leg remains. So we went from a direct impact causing the loss of a leg to a direct impact causing nothing but a leg. This is absolutely majestic and horrific all at once. Now speaking of explosives, I can't tell you the last time I've enjoyed using grenades this much in a Call of Duty game. There's something extremely satisfying about cooking a grenade just the right length of time, and then letting it rip right in someone's face. I was getting double kills galore in our playthrough, and I'm sure some of the bigger YouTubers were getting sick of my explosives. There was one instance where a Sledgehammer Games developer was watching me from behind, and I did a perfect Kobe bank right off the wall. And unfortunately, it hit the YouTuber hollow point right in his face. The developer then patted me on the back and said, "Nice shot." So I just wanted to give a friendly reminder. Don't forget about that lethal in your pocket. With the right amount of cooking, the grenade can be one of your most powerful weapons. Next up is something small I personally was wondering about. Can you get a one-hit melee from behind with your weapon? In most Call of Duty games, a melee from behind guarantees a death. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear to be true in this game. As you can see, I clearly get a hit marker from behind. And although he probably dropped to next to no health, it still took at least one more shot to kill him. Now to me, this is a little disappointing, but I suppose they had to make it like this since there's a bayonet charge in this game. Next up is another small detail I noticed. A lot of people were asking for the yellow text to return when you get a kill. Now to some extent, it did. However, not always. So when you get a normal kill, the text remains white. But if you get a multi-kill or anything immediately after your kill, it'll total your entire score and put it in yellow. I don't know if this was a compromise or not, but I'll take it. The next topic at hand involves a controversial technique. So at this capture event, there were arguably some of the best Call of Duty YouTubers out there. As such, decent gun streaks or score streaks were hard to come by. With every difficult scenario, however, is an opportunity for growth. One such talent that was there was Optic Nadeshot. I was in a few games with him and I noticed he frequently topped the leaderboards with incredible scores. So when he got on the same team as me, I scoped out his playstyle in an attempt to learn his techniques. What I found him doing was something that quickly caught on with most other YouTubers at this event: jump shotting. Now I didn't get to test out the exact details of this technique, but it would appear that doing this benefits you greatly in a 1 versus 1 situation. I noticed myself having extreme difficulty staying on target when my enemy came flying around the corner in midair, or if he popped straight up in the sky as I was engaging him. Now on the contrary, dropshotting appears to be extremely slow in this game. I only found one example of someone dropshotting me. I tried this a few times myself, but as I said, it's just too delayed. So I would expect jump shotting to quickly become the norm when it comes to online matches, and you'll probably see it in competitive as well. Now before I tackle the last topic, I just wanted to mention that there is a winner's circle in this game. While I'm not allowed to show you footage of the winner's circle at this time, I can confirm its presence. It's at an odd spot though. So right after you finish a map, it shows the final kill of the game, after which you'll see the leaderboard from the match. So all that is pretty standard. Now in the past 2 Call of Duty games, you'd see the winner's circle at this point. However, in World War II, you go out of the match first, so the 60-second countdown timer for your next match comes on the screen. It's at this point you see the top 3 players from the game, and then you can do your taunts. The screen displays this for 10 seconds, and then the after action report pops up where you can review your medals and challenges from the previous match. So I mentioned this on Reddit, and as per usual, my comment got downvoted up the wazoo. So this is confirmation for all you willywink and wiswogs on Reddit that downvote for no reason. There's a winner's circle and there's gestures. Now lastly, something new involving the war game mode. If you haven't heard about or seen the game mode in action yet, it's a narrative-driven experience in assault and defend missions for key strategic objectives. For example, first you have to secure a manor for a forward operating position. Then you have to construct a bridge, demolish an ammo depot, and escort tanks. After your attempt at these objectives, you then have to defend while the enemy attempts them as well. Now in my last video, several people left comments and asked how I got a score streak in the war game mode. As it turns out, there's not supposed to be score streaks at all. However, what I found out is that there's now an airdrop that arrives for the defending team. I counted 2 in one game, depending on how far you get. Now unfortunately, both airdrops turned out to be flamethrowers for me. So I'm not entirely sure if it's random like a care package, or if it's always going to be just a flamethrower. Regardless, it drops in the back of your spawn and you can easily pick it up. It definitely can help turn the tide of the battle. And that, as they say, is that. These are all the new and interesting features I found while reviewing my World War II beta footage. Let me know in the comments which one you liked the best. My own would have to be the utter destruction a close quarters launcher blast causes. Although, there's nothing like the sound of an entire enemy team screaming in unison.